Hello everyone and welcome to another exciting episode of Writing with Subtext. Today I want to show you how a random story form does not have to be completely meaningless in an empty experience for anybody reading it. What I'm going to do is I'm here in Subtext and I'm just going to go ahead and add a random story form. So what it's going to do is it's going to go through the 560 plus different story forms that are in Subtext, unique narrative structures. And it will take the story form of that piece. In this case, it decided to take the story form of Dr. Zhivago, and it's going to build a story for me based on the thematic premise that Dr. Zhivago is all about. And here we go. It's all complete. And now I will click into the narrative structure of Dr. Zhivago. And you can see it's got the entire story form down here. And I could see right off the bat that it's failure bad, which I remember from my Dr. Zhivago analysis, which means it's a tragedy, which is funny because what I wanted to do was just take this random idea of a hedgehog who loves sunflowers. Perhaps my child has said, hey, I want to write a story about a hedgehog who loves sunflowers, and I want to know what that's about. I'm not going to make it a biographical romance like Dr. Zhivago, but I will make it a fantasy venture. And just based on that idea, let's see what it comes up with. When a young hedgehog named Peter discovers his fondness for sunflowers, he embarks on a magical adventure to find the legendary valley where the brightest and most beautiful sunflowers bloom. Along the way, he meets a mysterious character who turns out to be an evil wizard, determined to stop Peter from reaching his destination. All right, good enough for a completely random story. Now, with this idea in there, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and generate a complete story. So this is one of Subtext's narrative agents, and it's going to go out right now. It's going to take that story form of Dr. Zhivago, mix it with that story idea I just did about Peter the hedgehog, and he's off to go look for some sort of sunflowers. And it's going to combine the two of them together to create a tragic children's story where it's first going to generate the pivotal players, which will be the main character, obviously Peter, whoever the obstacle character is, it's going to challenge Peter to grow. And it's going to extract the 4 through lines out of that idea. And then these 4 here, the domains, are the general areas of conflict for each of those 4 through lines. So it's going through and generating thematic material that is all balanced and works really well with each other. And then it's going to do the relationship story, and then finally blend them all together into this wonderful tragic story about a hedgehog who loves sunflowers. And now that we have that, we can tap into it and let's see what it came up with. So up here at the top is the synopsis. Down here are the breakdown into those 4 through lines. So let's see, just taking this idea of a hedgehog who has a fondness for sunflowers and matching that with the story form for Dr. Zhivago, we get Peter, a young hedgehog, embarks on a journey to find a legendary valley filled with the most beautiful sunflowers. His quest is filled with various challenges and obstacles, including the evil wizard Medusa, original name, who is determined to stop him. As Peter faces the challenges on his journey, he learns to overcome his fears, grow in confidence, and realize his own worth. That's nice. Medusa attempts to thwart Peter's journey, provide a stark contrast to Peter's, highlighting the conflict between them. However, as the story progresses, their relationship evolves, leading to a change in their dynamic. Now, what this did is it did the basic thing where it made the obstacle character of the story also the antagonist, which is totally fine, and maybe in a children's story, I should just leave it like this. So let's look at the plot. So this is his plot to find the legendary Valley of Sunflowers. And let's see. So his main character through line is not a hedgehog, is not just a hedgehog on a quest for sunflowers. He is also a character grappling with his own fears and insecurities. It's all right. And then the obstacle character, Medusa. We don't really know why she is. So the obstacle character would be the more meaningful reason as to why she's stopping Peter, except just because she's an evil wizard. So there'll be something behind that. And then their relationship which isn't really defined quite well here. This relationship serves as the emotional core of the story. Well, what kind of a relationship? Let's see. Let me just ask Muse. What kind of a relationship should I put between the two of them? Any thoughts? Because I want to know like the nature of their relationship. This is a children's book, maybe a mentorship, something a little bit meaningful. Paternal. Peter could be a father figure to Medusa. That's a little backwards. Siblings. They could share a sibling-like bond. Romantic. No. Platonic. Mentorship. Peter could serve as a mentor to Medusa. Let's do this. Let's make Medusa a mentor to Peter. But really, in the background subtext of this whole thing, I want it to be a mother-son relationship. All right, so I kind of combined the mentorship 5 with the paternal. And I'm not going to make this like really deep, but let's see. Here's how you can develop this. Oh, and it's just going to give me ideas of how to establish the relationship, which is fantastic. But for the purposes of this video, I just want subtlety is a key when dealing with subtext. Yes, for sure. Does it help? Yes, for sure. So please just give me a paragraph I can copy to the RS Throughline box. Thanks. Just going to take the basic idea of this mentorship, pop it into the relationship story throughline. All right, in the heart of the narrative, a bond forms between Peter and Medusa. On the surface, it's a mentor-student relationship with Medusa imparting crucial knowledge and skills. However, beneath the mentorship, a deeper, more profound bond simmers. Subtle gestures of care, moments of protectiveness, and shared emotional experiences hint at a mother-son relationship. Wow. This bond is tested and strained as they navigate through conflicts and challenges, but it ultimately strengthens, revealing its true nature at the story's climax. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to put this in there. And then once it's copied in there, what I'm going to do is, because it's such a downer, because it's such a tragedy, I'm going to make their relationship, they're going to be closer together. So mother and son, that'll be like the positive aspect of it. It's going to be a tragic kid story. So with this change here, the relationship, I'll just redo the complete story here at the top, and it'll remix those 4 through lines, blend them all together. And you can see here at the bottom, despite this, a bond forms between them. And I'll just replace this. If you want, you can stop the video and read this. I won't go through and read it. But what I want to do is just step into the next narrative agent, which is to generate the plot and the players, which should be quite interesting as it's a tragedy. But before I do that, first, let's look at the different domains of conflict. So here's the plot, unraveling a magical mystery. That's pretty basic for the objective story here. It's in physics. The main character's through line is in mind. So he has a fixed mindset. He's always believed that he is just a hedgehog on a quest for sunflowers. Oh, okay. And that prevents him from seeing beyond his current circumstances. So what the children are going to learn is that if you grow out of feeling like you are just a hedgehog on a quest for sunflowers, you're going to end up in a tragic situation. That's going to be the whole point of this kid story. But you can see it's far more meaningful than just, I don't know, maybe something you would throw into a chat prompt and you would get something back. This actually has a story to it, something that means something. And then let's look at Medusa. Having the power to create parallel universes. All right, that's not too bad. And then their relationship, the whole mother-son thing, breaking down psychologically. Ooh, all right. Very dysfunctional, very deep. This is probably where a lot of the darkness will come into, but then also where a lot of the positive growth will come out of it. So just for fun, let's just see. So the next step would be to see how this plot would play out. So not only will it figure out where it's going to start, where it's going to stop. Hopefully you saw the first one where it is going through and created a whole bunch of other players. And then now it's going to go through and come up with how the story starts, what kind of goal is set up. something to do with that sunflower area. How it ends, which should be pretty tragic, and then it'll blend them all together. Let's see what we get. All right, it's all done. Just tap into here. Let's see. Peter, motivated by his desire to find the legendary Valley of Sunflowers, hesitates to make a decision on which path to take. This inaction leads to missed opportunities and allows Medusa, the evil wizard, to gain power and hinder Peter's quest. Because of Peter's lack of action, Medusa is able to set traps and obstacles in his path, making it increasingly difficult for him to reach the valley. Peter realizes that he needs to learn more about Medusa's intentions in order to overcome her and continue his journey to find the Valley of Sunflowers. Peter's goal shifts to understanding Medusa's motivations and uncovering her weaknesses. If he can learn about Medusa's true intentions, he can strategize and find a way to outsmart her, ensuring that he can continue his quest and unlock the secrets of the valley without falling into her clutches. But in the end, Peter hesitates to help Medusa when she asks for assistance, leading to her attacking him and preventing him from reaching the Valley of Sunflowers. It's so dark. So you'll see what it did is part of the story form is it's an action-driven story, which is interesting because that's not what it sounded like. Oh, achieving through lack of action. Oh, is the problem in the story? Okay. Oh, amazing. So the problem in the story, which also happens to be the central problem in Dr. Zhivago, is inaction. So when people don't do something, things get worse, with the idea that you should eventually get to a place of protecting yourself. That doesn't happen. That's why it ends in a failure. Peter does that growth, but in doing so, he doesn't succeed, and then she attacks him. Very interesting. Let's see. So then you'll see the initial story driver, not incite an incident, which is a ridiculous term. This is a specific story driver that kicks off the plot. His inaction is what starts it all off. And because of that inaction, there is a goal of learning. So the whole story is about learning who Medusa is, what she's all about, probably some motherly things in there. She probably wants to teach him some things. And whenever he doesn't take action, things get worse. That's what all these traps are about. And in the end, he hesitates, being unresponsive to Medusa's request for assistance. Maybe she teaches him all this stuff. And then as the final stage, he has to prove himself. He still hesitates. And then that is what leads to the tragedy, the end of the story. It ends quite badly. What it also did in this agent is it added the players. So it added Peter, who is the young hedgehog. It added Medusa. And then it made up some other characters. King Gyatso, Ebby, the brave fairy, Weatherpaws, a wise and mysterious fox, Molyneux, an old and wise hedgehog, Luna, a playful butterfly, and Augie, Peter's best friend and adventurous owl. So with all these characters in place, I could then go ahead and populate all the different things that happen in the story. But I just wanted to show you how just with this right here, we have this complete story where we got this really interesting dynamic between mother and son, mentorship, all from this basic idea of a young hedgehog who loves sunflowers. From that, I got this general idea of an evil wizard, turn that into a complete story with 4 through lines and this really interesting thing with this mother-son mentorship thing. Then I generated the plot and learned a little bit about what is causing problems in Dr. Zhivago, but also in story, where it's hesitation or inaction, not taking action specifically, is leading to all kinds of conflict and is why Peter fails in the end. So I just wanted to give you a little look at what it would take to create a really meaningful and fantastic story that has never been done before, as opposed to, I don't know, if you were to just type, write me a story about a hedgehog who loves sunflowers, probably get something really basic that really goes nowhere and is just a complete waste of time. Hopefully this gave you a good idea of how you can start to just write random stories about anything and have it actually mean something. So it's not just a meaningless adventure that's going on, that there's actually some deeper understanding, some deeper message that you're trying to get into your story, which I feel are the best kinds of stories. So that does it for writing the subtext. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. Otherwise, I will see you next time.